Hey y'all, and welcome back to another video. My name is MirrorFish, and in this week's video, I'm going to show you a project that I'm working on for Procjam. So Procjam is a yearly game jam event which focuses on procedural generation. It lasts for 8 days. It's ending tomorrow on Monday. It's super laid back and really just about having fun, making something that makes something, right? So if you guys follow this channel, you know this is an area I'm super interested in. And so I try to participate in this jam every year. This year, I'm working on Alea City Two, Artbot Garden. So what this is a kind of a procedurally generated, slightly absurd art museum filled with rabbits riding on spider robots. So let's take a look and I'll explain as we go. I'm not going to go super deep into the code this time, but we'll follow up with some of those in kind of more tutorial format later on the channel. Let's check it out. Okay, so let's take a look at the project. We will enter play mode. And so we've got our robot here. He is riding on this spider bot. We've got some nice ambient music that I made with Ableton Live. There's a kind of a rough day-night cycle in there. And as you can see, right, it's changing slowly, but the day-night cycle is running. And we've got some other robots who are off on their way to procedurally generate some artworks for us to look at. So we can follow this guy if we want. And so these guys are using the Navmesh components from the Unity GitHub. These are not actually super easy to discover. I'll link to the GitHub page in the description, but it's a really useful set of components if you're doing anything with procedurally generated environments and you want to have agents that can navigate using Navmesh in procedural environments. So we can follow this guy. If we want to speed up, we can turn into a ball and run after him, which I put in there just for fun. It's just kind of a fun traversal mechanic. You hold down shift to turn into a ball. Okay, so this guy is now placing some onions. And we can see from the laser, right, that he's placing things. There's a little glitch there from copying materials. I actually need to replace that with something more performant. And so here, right, what he's doing is he's come to a point, he's stopped, and now he is scattering some onions. Now the onions actually do have a collider and physics. I'm using this character control from the asset store, which is interesting because we can jump on top of things and they won't be affected by physics, but if we, let's see if I can do it. Yeah, if we push them from the side or headbutt them, they'll go flying, which is kind of fun, which I actually like as behavior, right? So he's generating these objects, scattering them, and he'll stand there and do that for a while until he's done. And they kind of do this scale in animation, which is done by a script. I actually tried doing it with a timeline and an animator, but I liked just doing it with the code and some coroutine. Here somebody has placed some fishes. Very nice. Oh, he's still placing some fishes. Stop that fish. All right, let's go take a look what we can find through here. So these levels are generated using the 3D functionality of Strata. Oh, here we go. Cool. Little Jeff Koons giant rabbit, shiny rabbit sculpture happening here. Lots of them. And so I want to add in a picture taking mode to this as well, because I think that could be kind of fun. I haven't done it yet. One of the things that I did in this jam, because there's no rules against it, is using a ton of stuff from the asset store, which is really fun because it kind of allows me to focus on the parts that I'm interested in, to focus on the generation, and instead of having to create all these art assets. So all of these fish and rabbits and everything are from different asset store packs. The robot that the guy is riding on is from an asset store pack. Now this is actually using Unity's HDRP. I wanted to experiment with using HDRP, and I thought that this would be a good project to do it on. I also used HDRP on Alea City 1 this was a year ago when it was still very new. And so you can see I'm experimenting with generating some different materials, some glowing materials and reflective materials, which we can see over here. Let's take a look. I was messing with doing some translucent materials, but I didn't get them working yet. But that's actually where some of the glitches are coming from, is copying the materials. I think I need to actually do this in a more performant way. We've got a bunch of multicolored hippo heads. Very nice. Good job, robots. Let's see what else we've got. What's this guy making over here? Of course, the number 7. Bunch of scattered instances of the number 7. Very good. A stack of dice. Some other numbers. So obviously these are not sort of great, brilliant artworks, right? But I kind of like the idea of this kind of generated art stuff using pre-made objects. There's definitely some modern artworks that I've seen that have done things like this, kind of collecting stacks of art, stacks of mundane objects in a gallery. I want to have more varied types of things in here. Right now it's leaning really heavily towards kind of spawning these like slightly absurd fox heads and things. There are some, let's see what else we can find. There are some other ones. Here's a cat that's clipping through the wall. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to have, what do we got here? iPads? Oh, very nice. This nighttime part of the day-night cycle is not where I want it to be. I need to like blend in some post-processing. Also, you can see that some of the objects are using unlit materials, which I think doesn't look totally right. So there's a lot of rough edges in here at this point. I'm really just focused on the generation. What's this guy making over here? I like these lasers. Yeah, okay, this is a nice example of, let's just watch him make this for a second. This is a nice example of something else, right? This is scattering cubes, and this is actually using a procedurally generated color palette. So this was something, oh, my fan's kicking on. This was something that I have spent some time experimenting with, is procedurally generated colors. I actually really like what it's doing here. I think this is really pretty. This green and then a little bit of pink mixed in, some glowing greens. I need to have some that don't have rigid bodies so that they'll stay more static, but I think this is really nice and pretty. I've also got some like weird mismatched materials in there. These like smudged ones I really like. But I think this is kind of cool, and I think it could be cool to have some photo taking in here. This I really like too, when we get these like giant black cat clipping through the wall, and then like just a small pile of bricks. I like it. I've been having a lot of fun working on this. I haven't spent a ton of time on it because I've obviously had to do my job during the week, but basically just working on it a few hours each night this week and leveraging a ton of stuff that I've already made. So the AI, it's worth mentioning here, is based on my pluggable AI with scriptable objects tutorial that I made during my day job at Unity a couple of years ago. I'll link that down in the description. It's basically a kind of finite state machine-based AI system that I think is pretty cool, pretty easy to use. In this case, they're just wandering between waypoints, placing objects, and then moving on, wandering to different random waypoints. We get there. Let's go. We'll do one full iteration of the day-night cycle, which I think should be starting again soon. Spawning copies of the number 5. I felt like once I added in the physics and allowed you to bump things and move them around, it got more fun and more real. Hey guys. I'm also going to try to make some more varied robot models, give them some different things. Let's see what's going on over here. iPhones, okay. I really want to adjust the time of day. I don't like so long on this. And this time of day here is really just generated by, let's go back to the beginning. Is it going to work? Yeah. This time of day is just generated basically by rotating the main directional light. Is pretty much all that's happening. It's just a simple script that rotates the main directional light over 10 minutes. This looks nicer. Something about the nighttime lighting is not right. I gotta figure out what. I think it's too high ambient intensity, maybe. This is kind of pretty, huh? Oh, this is kind of what's showing. After a while, the objects shrink and disappear. Now this is for two reasons. One, just because I think it's kind of interesting to have stuff disappearing and appearing, but also for performance, right? It's gonna get rid of, so that the level doesn't get completely overloaded with objects. Right now we're still running at 70 frames a second, so you can see it's dipping a little, 40. You know, we're in that 60, 70 range with some dips. So performance is actually pretty good, surprisingly, considering like there's like thousands of objects with rigid bodies and a whole bunch of silly stuff going on. Yeah, stuff like this. I think this is cool, you know? I don't know. I think it's cool. All right, so maybe we'll leave that there. I'll definitely come back and show you guys some videos on really how this was made. It's really using a lot of the techniques we've been covering in our PCG Basics series. I'm gonna do a video for procedural content generation basics on the procedural color schemes. That'll be coming up. And I'm going to release this on itch.io. You can go download it there. I won't be able to release the source on this one because I'm using so much asset store stuff, so sorry for that. But you can check out the build and play around with it and see what you think. So as always, I really appreciate you guys spending time with me. If you are enjoying this content, please do consider subscribing. Drop a dislike on the video if you dislike it, and drop a like on the video if you thought it was cool. Leave me a comment. What do you think about this? Is this cool? Do you want to see more of these kind of, showing things, or you want me to stick to the tutorials? I also changed up my filming setup here a little bit. I got some comments, people being like, that black background is too boring. And, some guy on Reddit called me a douchebag. And I'm like, oh, gee, thanks, buddy. It's Reddit, right? But I'm trying this out. This is more like real life here. The situation with the windows is not great for filming, which is why I was using the backdrop, but this is me at my real desk here in Berlin, Germany, so hello world. But yeah, let me know what you think of the different setup and the video, and if you have any questions in the comments, drop one below. Let me know if you're working on something for Procjam. I'd love to check it out. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye.